Okay, I'll start by just officially welcoming all of you guys. Sawadee Kap. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see all of you guys this morning. Today is what we call our group learning program, where we help you guys to learn meditation, but also all the other teachings of the Buddha as well. The group learning program is on Sunday and Wednesday, and we do this here at the temple, and we also live stream it in the mornings when I teach here at the temple, and then in the evenings we live stream another class as well, which is the same thing. It's just in a different time for all the different time zones around the world to be able to access the teachings of the Buddha. And we have other programs and courses and retreats as well. This group learning program on Sunday and Wednesdays is really good for someone who's just starting out and just starting to learn, because we walk you through a 7-month program to help you learn the path to enlightenment. What enlightenment is where the mind is peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. It no longer experiences any discontent feelings. So an individual will eliminate anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, boredom, loneliness, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All the discontent feelings, even the slightest displeasure, is eliminated from the enlightened mind. And you don't do that through belief. The teachings of the Buddha aren't to be believed. Instead, you're learning his teachings, you're reflecting on them to independently verify them, and then you're practicing them in order to train the mind and eliminate certain pollutions that are in the mind. The Buddha discovered certain pollutions that are hindering the mind from being able to experience this brightness and radiance, this peacefulness, this joy, always being in a good mood. That's essentially what the enlightened mind is experiencing, is an enlightened being will always be in a good mood. Today's class is the third part of a 4-part series that I've been teaching on loving kindness meditation, where loving kindness meditation is to guide you in understanding how to eliminate the anger, hatred, and ill will from the mind, including those lesser versions like frustration, irritation, annoyance, even kind of dislike. If you interact with somebody or you meet somebody and you I just don't like them. This is because of the anger, hatred, ill will. We talk about it in the extreme, but there's these lighter versions of it, this same pollution or this same defilement or this taint that shows up in the mind, and you can eliminate it through practicing loving kindness meditation, but then also in your daily life through practicing things like what we call right intention, right speech, and right action. These are part of the core central teachings of the Buddha on the Eightfold Path. So the way that we usually start our class is we start with a brief meditation in order to help you guys to learn about meditation and develop your practice. And then we share teachings with you in order to help you further understand the teachings of the Buddha and how to progress on this path to enlightenment. So since today's class is about learning loving kindness meditation, I thought what I would do is just introduce you a bit to loving kindness meditation, because I've already taught it more thoroughly in the first part of the 4-part series. I'll just kind of introduce it for those of you guys that weren't here for the first part of the 4-part series, and for those of you guys online that also weren't part of the first part of the 4-part series. I'll just kind of refresh your memory for those of you guys that were here, and then for those of you guys that weren't here, you'll get a chance to actually understand what loving kindness meditation is a bit. And then we'll actually go ahead and do loving kindness meditation. So let me just switch over some things here technology-wise so the people online and you guys here can see what I'm teaching. Okay, so let's see, there we go. So loving kindness meditation, the way that we do it is we start with chanting. There's chanting that we do. This is the Pali language. The chanting is a way to awaken the mind in terms of getting it a little bit more developed in terms of awareness of mind and awareness of your breath, just kind of invigorating the mind a bit prior to meditation. It's not rites or rituals or ceremonies or worship. It's not prayer or anything like that. We have these chants on a laminated sheet on the table over there that you're welcome to get if you like. It has the Pali chant. You can actually chant along together if you like. It sounds really beautiful when many people are chanting together. And it has the English translations too, so that you understand what the chants are for. Then we're going to do about 5 minutes worth of breathing mindfulness meditation. This is a primary form of meditation that the Buddha used in order to train his mind to get to enlightenment. There's other aspects of meditation and other teachings that you would need to learn besides breathing mindfulness meditation, but breathing mindfulness meditation is a primary form of training, and we oftentimes do that as a standalone meditation all by itself. But here, before we do loving kindness meditation, we do a little bit of breathing mindfulness meditation just to kind of start getting awareness of the breath and awareness of the mind and developing some concentration. And I'll guide you guys in that and provide you some little bit of brief instruction as we're going into breathing mindfulness meditation. Then it'll just be quiet for a period of time, and then I'll come back in with some guidance for loving kindness meditation. What loving kindness meditation does is, as you're focusing on the breath, on the out breath, you'll repeat these affirmations in your mind. The affirmations are, may I be peaceful. And you're doing that on the out breath. And then you breathe in real gradually. And then on the out breath, may I be safe. And then you breathe in gradually. And on the out breath, may I be well. And then again on the out breath, may I be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. Okay, so this is the first, what we call ring. There's 4 affirmations within this first ring, and you start with I, because you need to learn how to have loving kindness for this being who you are now. Before you can learn how to have love for others, you need to learn how to love this being. So this meditation, not only does it help eliminate anger, hatred, and ill will towards others, but if you have negative self-talk in your mind where you kind of diminish yourself or degrade yourself, kind of beat yourself up a little bit, this meditation is really good for that, to transform your mind away from that, where you can start having more loving kindness for yourself. Then we expand in these rings. We make these wider and wider and wider rings. Here, what I'm sharing with you is just kind of a brief little basic structure, but in reality, you would like to customize this for your specific needs. You're going to hear me customizing this meditation based on all of us being here. We're going to do a meditation where we go through these various rings of people who we have relationships with, like our friends, our family, our coworkers, our neighbors, things like this. And we'll make these progressively wider and wider rings until we eventually get to all beings, where we haven't left anyone out. What you're essentially doing is you're rewiring the mind to experience this loving kindness, or this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, this active goodwill. That's what you'd like to cultivate in the mind. Because the way that the unenlightened mind functions is, when someone does something that you don't like and something you disagree with, you'll go down this path of anger, which oftentimes comes with bitterness and hostility, animosity in your intentions, your speech, and your actions. And people are just driving, it just drives people away from you if you treat people in this way. So what you're doing in the meditation is you're rewiring the mind to no longer be bitter and harsh and hostile towards people. Instead, you're learning how to be loving and kind to other beings, having compassion, concern for their misfortune. So you're doing this in meditation, where you're cultivating the mind through these affirmations. Then what you ultimately end up doing is going out into the world and practicing through your intentions, your speech, and your actions to be more loving and kind. So this middle part of the meditation is to help the mind cultivate this goodwill, or this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, where you're not interested in judging others to determine if they deserve your loving kindness, but you can then just practice loving kindness with everybody. After we do the loving kindness meditation, we'll go back to the breathing mindfulness meditation for a short period of time. And then we'll come out of that with the chanting. So the way I think about it is it's kind of like a loving kindness sandwich, where the loving kindness is in the middle, and you've got breathing mindfulness meditation on the outer sides, and then the outer edge, like the bread, is the chanting. Right? So you've got this loving kindness sandwich that we're going to be practicing. So we'll do that to get started, and I'll guide you guys through this. Just a little bit on the body. If you're sitting on the floor, you might just sit with a cushion under your rear. Some people like to have multiple cushions because it gets your hips up in the air, where you can lessen the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles. You're also welcome to get a chair. Some people like to meditate in a chair. If you are not able to sit on the floor for any reason, or if you feel pain for any reason, you should adjust your body and get into a nice, comfortable position. So if you need extra cushions, you're welcome to grab those, or if you need a chair, you're welcome to grab those. If you're in a chair, you might decide to just put your feet flat on the floor or crossed at the ankles just lightly. It's really up to you. It's however you feel most comfortable. Even sitting on the floor, some people like to put their legs off the mat. Some people like to put their legs on the mat. Some people like to stack their legs. Not everybody's going to find the exact same thing comfortable. So you find what works best for you so that the lower body is comfortable. Not painful, but not luxurious either. In the middle where it's nice and comfortable. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use this. But again, not everyone's going to find this comfortable. Some people might prefer to put their palms on their thighs or their knees or their palms up. If you were in a chair that has armrest, you might even just put your arms on the armrest of the chair. Some people like to do it that way. Again, not painful and not luxurious, but comfortable. Once we go into meditation, you'll end up having your eyes closed, and you're just going to be breathing in gradually through the nose and out through the nose. And I'll guide you in this as we get going in the meditation. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the chanting. Again, there's laminated sheets if you guys would like to see the chants or follow along. And then afterwards, I'll come back with some guidance on the meditation itself. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Wat Tung Mahakavanhang Apivateyami Savakhato Mahakavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Namasati Satatawa Manusanam Oto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose. And then whenever you're ready, exhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath isn't going to necessarily match up with the guidance that I'm providing. I'm just here for guidance. This is your practice. So wherever you get to the next inhale, just breathe in gradually, using my voice as a reminder. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, establishing a nice, natural breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Once the breath is established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Just whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Continuing to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. On your out breath, repeat these affirmations in the mind. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May my mom and dad be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness in the suffering it causes. May my brothers, sisters, nieces and nephews, cousins, all be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May my friends and associates be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May my coworkers and associates, neighbors, all be peaceful. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be free of all discontentedness and the suffering it causes. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be free of discontentedness and the suffering it causes. Now return back to breathing mindfulness meditation, focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะคะวะโอตังมะคะวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาควตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมพุทโธสัคคาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสานามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังโหโตภะคะวะติ Okay, if you guys would like to gradually make your way out of meditation, just slowly ease out. Okay, so this is loving kindness meditation. The visual aid that I'm using, this is just a basic structure, just to kind of teach the structure. But what you would like to do is customize this meditation for your specific needs. Even the meditation that I did today with these affirmations, this is just a very general, broad meditation because I'm guiding lots of people here at the temple and online. You would like to customize this for your specific needs. If you have a brother or sister, you can include their name. If you have a certain friend or other person in your life that you either have loving kindness for and you would like to encourage that, support it, and not allow it to fade, you can include them in your meditation, include that name. If you have certain people that you have anger, hatred, or ill will, or even those lesser versions like irritation, annoyance, or dislike, you can include them in your meditation to help wear away that anger, hatred, ill will, the frustration, the irritation, the dislike. So that's how the meditation becomes really potent and really powerful, is that you customize it for your specific needs. And it might change over the course of your life. It's going to most likely need to change, because as you have certain people that come into your life that you would like to develop loving kindness for, you're going to need to include them in your meditation. And then there's going to be certain people who you've already cultivated loving kindness for, and you might move them out of your meditation. About 6 to 8 rings is what you're looking for. And then you can change this as you go forward in life. So when I first started doing this loving kindness meditation, I had a lot of negative self-talk in the mind. So I used to do this meditation for myself quite a bit. And then I would include my mom as well, because I had a lot of resentment towards my mom for things that happened during my childhood. So the meditation when I first started was basically 2 or 3 rings for me, and then 2 or 3 rings for my mom, and then ultimately all beings. And I worked on that for a good 6 months. And then over time, as certain things were happening in my life, maybe I would have a certain employee in the past when I was in business that I would need to include in this meditation, or maybe a customer or a landlord, or maybe someone would cut me off in traffic and I would be angry or frustrated about that. And I was trying to get rid of that. I would include them maybe for 3 or 4 days or a week or so in my meditation. And then after that was worn away, then I would move them out of the meditation. So this meditation is meant to be customized for your specific needs. And that's where the real potency comes in. Because as long as you hold on to your anger and your resentment, it's only harming you. It's not harming anybody else. Well, if it comes out through your intention, speech, and actions, it causes harm to others. But in terms of what's being held on to in your mind, if say someone's died or somebody's done some kind of harm to you in the past, if you hold on to the anger and resentment, it's only harming you. Oftentimes somebody thinks that they're getting back at this person by holding on to the anger, but that's like trying to burn somebody else by holding a hot coal in your hand. You're holding this hot coal in your hand trying to burn somebody else. But instead, what you need to do is get rid of that hot coal. And this is how you do it. This is how you get rid of the anger, hatred, ill will, the resentment, the hostility, the bitterness. You can gradually wear this away. And when you first start doing this meditation, you may not feel that goodwill. You may not feel that genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. And that's exactly why it's important for you to do this meditation. Because oftentimes what we do in the unenlightened state is when you feel angry or frustrated or irritated, you think that somebody else caused you to be angry. But this isn't actually true. Nobody else is causing you to be angry. Your mind is actually causing it itself. And when you falsely believe that somebody else is causing you to be angry, you will tend to push them out of your life and then erect a wall between you and them. And now you might be angry or bitter or hostile or aggressive towards them. Or you might even put your expectations on them and try to control them to do things your way. But when you study the teachings of the Buddha, you can see that your mind is actually causing the anger itself. And this is why you can eliminate it. You can uproot the conditions. The causes and conditions that are creating these discontent feelings are inside your own mind. These are the pollutions that the Buddha discovered. And when you learn about these pollutions and you uproot them out of your mind becomes more peaceful and more joyful. That's where the Buddha's teachings are so very powerful, because it's not about believe, and hope something good happens when you die. That's not what the teachings of the Buddha are about. Instead, it's about learning teachings. It's about independently reflecting on them now to verify that they're true. And then you practice the teachings now to transform your mind and get rid of the pollutions of your mind. And then you experience the results now in this life. You start noticing that situations where you were once angry or upset or annoyed, that all of a sudden, as you gradually train your mind through all the various teachings of the Buddha, you start noticing that your mind's more peaceful and more joyful. In situations where you once got angry, you're no longer angry in those situations. And you can see more and more clearly through studying the teachings of the Buddha that your mind is causing these discontent feelings itself. And then you can independently verify that and practice. And as you're uprooting the pollutions, you can see the truth that it's working to help you. So there's a core central teaching of the Buddhas. It's called the Eightfold Path. And this Eightfold Path is something that a beginning student would need to start learning and understanding in order to experience real progress on the path to enlightenment. Loving kindness meditation is part of that, but there's other pieces that you would need besides just this in order to fully train the mind. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to just turn things over to all of you guys here and those of you guys online. If you would like to ask any questions related to loving kindness meditation or any aspect of the teachings of the Buddha, no matter what it is, if you've seen something here in Thailand with Buddhist teachings and you're kind of curious and you have questions, you can ask those questions. If you've read something or seen something and you're not quite sure what things are, you can ask those questions. There's no question that you can't ask. You can ask any and all questions that you like. So here at the temple, if you have a question, just raise your hand. There's microphones there that we would need to use so that people online can hear you. But there's no harm in using a microphone. It's not going to bite you or it's not going to cause you any difficulties. So if you could just use the microphone. And for those of you guys online, if you could either put your comment into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any questions that you like. So any and all questions that you guys would like to ask, you're welcome to ask. Okay, we have a question online through Facebook, or actually, I'm sorry, through Zoom. Brenna is asking, did the Buddha practice loving kindness meditation? The answer is yes. He practiced it and he taught other people to practice. A Buddha is an individual who's discovered the teachings that lead to enlightenment. They've independently discovered the teachings. They figured out how to train their mind to get to this peaceful, calm, serene, and content mind with joy. And through that independent discovery, they have deep, profound wisdom of what it takes to get to enlightenment. And then they dedicate the rest of their life to sharing those teachings, helping others to get to that same mental state. And during that person's lifetime, who is a Buddha, countless people would get to enlightenment. And then they would preserve their teachings in such a way that countless more people could get to enlightenment after their death. So in other parts of this four-part series, I've shared words of the Buddha where he's teaching about loving kindness meditation. So I'm just going to go back and show you, Brenna. Let's see, where is it at? Here we go. So here's some words from the Buddha. The first one is him talking to his son, Rahula. He says, Rahula, develop meditation on loving kindness. For when you develop meditation on loving kindness, any ill will be abandoned. So this is how a Buddha speaks. He speaks very clear, very concise, very precise. You don't have to interpret his words. You don't have to figure out what he's saying. His teachings aren't left up to interpretation. Instead, he's just speaking very clearly, explaining to you what you need to do in order to get to enlightenment. He's not trying to convince you to do anything. He doesn't have rules or commandments. He's not guilting or shaming or fearing you into doing anything. His mind's already peaceful. It's already joyful. He doesn't want anything from you. He doesn't expect anything from you. He's just sharing with you what it took for him to get to enlightenment. So here he's talking to his son, Rahula, saying, hey, if you would like to eliminate ill will, which anger, hatred, ill will, it's all the same thing, practice loving kindness meditation. That's how you do it. Right? And there's some other words from him here as well that I share. And you'll see throughout his teachings where he talks about sharing loving kindness meditation and doing loving kindness meditation. In the original source teachings of the Pali Canon, that's what the original teachings of the Buddha are. They're 45 large books, about maybe 4 inches thick, 10 centimeters thick. They're 45 books. And in these 45 books, they're the largest collection that we have of the teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha lived 2,500 years ago, and now today we look to the Pali Canon as the original source of his teachings. But in that original source, those 45 volumes of books, we know that we have a tremendous amount of teachings of what the Buddha actually taught. But because of impermanence, things constantly changing, we know that we don't have everything that he taught. So even though we have in these books that the Buddha is pointing to loving kindness meditation and explaining that that's important to actually do, you won't find anywhere in the original source teachings what he actually did for loving kindness meditation. That we lost that information over the course of 2,500 years. So what you do is you find somebody that has eliminated anger, hatred, ill will, that you don't notice any irritation, frustration, annoyance, any of that kind of stuff in their mind. And whatever they're doing for loving kindness meditation, that's how you know what to do for loving kindness meditation, because you can independently verify it through learning what they do, through reflecting and seeing what they do, and then practicing it and seeing the truth for yourself. So if you practice loving kindness meditation the way that I share, you will see that it gradually wears away your anger, hatred, and ill will. I have 100% confidence that it will eliminate your anger. So that's how you can develop your practice. Where a Buddha can independently get to enlightenment by themselves without any teachers or any guides, it's only that rare individual that can do that. And it's only very rare in the world that a Buddha will arise. The last one that the world's currently aware of existed over 2,500 years ago. So everyone else is going to need teachers and guides. So you're going to need teachers and guides to help you along the path to enlightenment. And that's why people come to the temple, they meet teachers, they use the resources that the teachers share. All these books that I have, the 13 books, you can actually get them for free. You can download them from the website for free and use them. You can take them and go print them if you like printed versions, or if you like printed versions, we have them here at the temple that you basically reimburse us for the printing cost, or you can even get them on Amazon. If you have access to Amazon, you can get them that way too. So all these books and videos, podcasts, personal guidance is all available for you at no cost. You can receive all this guidance to help you on the path to enlightenment. We make sure that we provide our services at no cost so students can see that we don't want anything from you. We're just here to help you and guide you along the path. We have no expectations of you. It's going to take work. It's going to be challenging, but this is the last challenge of all challenges. This is the last struggle of all struggles. If you can train your mind to get to enlightenment, by the time you get to enlightenment, it's a permanent mental state. Your mind will never go back to being angry ever again by the time you transform it. Your mind will never even be in a bad mood anymore. You'll always have this peace and this joy that exists in the mind. But you need to do some work in order to make your mind move towards that direction. It took the Buddha 6 years to get to that point. It's going to take you some time. It's not a 1 month thing. It's not a 1 year thing. It's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. Sometimes people think the Buddha sat under a tree and he meditated and instantly got to enlightenment, but this isn't true. When you see his teachings, he talks about this gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. And you know that to be true because everything you've ever done in life has been the same way. Whether it's learning English or learning some job or occupation, it's been gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. So it's going to take you some time, but you just do it gradually. And there's people to help you along the way, but you've got to have the determination, the dedication, and the diligence to learn. So that was more than what you asked for, Brenna, but I was sharing some teachings here that will help the folks here that are just learning and the people online as well. Do you guys have any questions here at the temple? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere online or here at the temple. Let me ask you guys a question. Would you like to learn something more beyond what I've already shared with you? There's a teaching that the Buddha shares. It's called the Four Noble Truths. This is a teaching that'll take me about probably 45 minutes or so to teach it to you. This is the very first teaching that you learn on the path to enlightenment, and it helps you to understand what causes the discontent feelings and how to actually eliminate them. So it helps you to understand why you're experiencing sadness and anger, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, boredom, loneliness, shyness, resentment, jealousy. Once you understand the Four Noble Truths, it's like having a breakthrough, because until you understand what's causing these discontent feelings, you wouldn't actually be able to eliminate them. You'll just continue to go around life thinking that other people are causing you to be angry, and you won't ever fix your problem. You won't ever be able to address it because that's not what the real problem is. And you'll just keep pushing people away. You'll become bitter and harsh and hostile with people, and they'll choose to leave out of your life. Or you'll put your expectations on people, and then they'll choose to leave out of your life. So if you guys would like to learn the Four Noble Truths, I can teach it to you, because this tends to be a beginning teaching that people really need to understand, that are coming to maybe learn the teachings of the Buddha. Is that something you guys would like to learn? Yeah? You would like to learn? A couple of people would? Okay. If you're not interested in learning it, you guys can come and go as you please. You're not being disrespectful if you need to leave and go somewhere else. You're welcome to leave, come and go. There's a bathroom in the back of the room, the very last door on the right. You can use the restroom. There's water here that you're welcome to make yourself comfortable and use water and drink some water. We just ask that you wash your cup before you leave the temple. Okay, so if you guys would like to learn the Four Noble Truths, then I will switch over to sharing that with you. Let me just back up into, actually, let me go this way. Sorry for the quick flipping, but I need to get to the spot where it'll help you guys with the visual aids. Okay, here we go. All right. So before we start talking about the Four Noble Truths, let me just share this that I share with every brand new student that starts studying with me, is that when I teach you, or when you read books, or when you learn anything from me or anybody else, you should never believe me. You should never believe anything I say. Don't believe me, don't believe the books I write, don't believe anything that I teach you, because belief isn't going to lead to wisdom. You need to get to wisdom. That's the way that you awaken the mind to enlightenment. With belief, you don't know what's true or false. You're just believing it because somebody told you to believe it. With the teachings of the Buddha, you don't believe anything. You learn his teachings, you reflect on them to independently verify them, and you practice them in order to see the truth for yourself. And this is what actually helps you to awaken the mind and train it to be able to get to this enlightened mental state where the mind's peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy permanently for the rest of your life. So as I'm sharing teachings with you, you should be thinking about them. You should be reflecting on them. You should try to independently verify whether they're true or false. And I'm going to help you do that as I walk you through the Four Noble Truths today. The same thing occurred when you were learning about the natural law of gravity. When you first learned the natural law of gravity, you didn't understand it. In fact, we were being affected by this natural law of gravity throughout our life without even realizing about this natural law. So we struggled and we had difficulties because we were unaware. We lacked wisdom of this natural law of gravity. So we struggled in life. We fell down, we hit our head, we broke our toys, we knocked over glasses of water. We had all kinds of difficulties because we lacked wisdom, and we made unwise decisions that led to unwholesome results. Well, we didn't believe in the natural law of gravity. We saw the truth for ourselves. More and more, we started to be able to see that this natural law of gravity was true. And then by the time we were 10 or 12 years old, as we aged, we gained more wisdom of this natural law, and then we were able to make wiser decisions that led to wholesome results. So with wisdom, we were able to make wise decisions that led to wholesome results. But when we lacked wisdom of the natural law of gravity, we made unwise decisions. We struggled and had difficulties in the world, and we ended up experiencing unwholesome results. So the same thing is occurring with the unenlightened mind, is that it lacks wisdom, and therefore it will struggle and it will have difficulties. It lacks wisdom of the natural laws of existence. That's what the Buddha taught. It's called the natural laws of existence. So the way that you get to wisdom with these natural laws is you learn them, you reflect on them to independently verify them, and you practice them. And that's how you see the truth for yourself, and you awaken the mind. That's what it means to awaken the mind, is to gain wisdom. So we awoke to the natural law of gravity. We fully awoke to the natural law of gravity. And now we can ride bicycles, we can climb ladders, we can get on airplanes, because we fully awoke to the natural law of gravity. So you need to do the same thing with the natural laws of existence, is you don't believe them. You learn them, reflect on them to independently verify them, and practice them to be able to see the truth for yourself. So I'm going to share with you what's called the 3 universal truths. These are building blocks to help you understand the 4 noble truths. We call these truths because the Buddha knows that they are truth. I know that they're truth, but you need to know that they're truth in order for you to get to the point where you have the wisdom. So that's why you're learning, reflecting, and practicing to be able to get to the truth. So here, the three universal truths. I'm going to help you learn it. I'm going to show you how to reflect on it, to independently verify it, and then I'm going to explain to you how to practice these teachings so that then you can gradually awaken and get closer and closer to this peaceful and joyful mental state. The first universal truth is called the universal truth of impermanence. This is where you're understanding that things are constantly changing. There isn't this fixed state, that things arise, they change, and they fade away. These are called conditioned objects. Conditioned objects arise, they change, and they fade away. This is the universal truth of impermanence. Then there's something called unconditioned objects. Unconditioned objects, they do not arise, they do not change, and they do not fade away. The vast majority of everything in the world is a conditioned object. It arises, it changes, and it fades away. There's things like enlightenment itself that isn't a conditioned object. It's actually unconditioned. It doesn't arise, it doesn't change, it doesn't fade away. The natural laws of existence are the same way. That's why what the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago is just as applicable today as it was 2,500 years ago, because he's teaching about these natural laws and they haven't changed in 2,500 years. People's memories and the books and the things that people are teaching about the teachings of the Buddha have changed, but the natural laws themselves haven't changed. And the Buddha described them very clear and very concise, and we can see those natural laws today. The more you learn about them, you can reflect on them to independently verify them, and then practice and see the truth for yourself. But the vast majority of everything else in the world, it's all impermanent. So this is the little bit of teaching on the universal truth of impermanence, that everything around you, all these objects that you see, are all impermanent. They're going to arise, they're going to change, and they're going to fade away. So this is the learning. Now, as I shared with you, you don't believe it, right? You're not trying to believe anything. What you're looking to do is get to wisdom so you can independently verify it. So now the way that you independently verify this is you try to disprove it. If you can find something that's permanent in this conditioned world, all these material objects, then you've disproven this as a universal truth. So you start with something that you're very familiar with, which is this human body. You ask yourself, is this human body permanent or is it impermanent? If it's permanent, then that means it's stayed the same your entire life and it's never changed. If it's impermanent, then that means it's constantly changing. So what would you say? Is this physical body permanent or impermanent? What's that? It's impermanent, right? The body's constantly growing. Even now, your hair's growing, your fingernails are growing, the complexion of your skin's growing. You might be growing different weight, right? We add weight, we shrink in weight. Things are changing. The color and the texture of our hair changes oftentimes. We might get a mole or we might get a pimple or something like this. This is constant change with the physical body. Our teeth grow in as a child, then they fall out and the new ones come in. This is change. This is the universal truth of impermanence. What about your relationships in life? Are your relationships permanent or impermanent? If they're permanent, that means you've had exactly the same people in your life your entire life. Or if your relationships are impermanent, that means you've had people coming and going in and out of your life throughout your life. What would you say? Are your relationships permanent or impermanent? They're impermanent, right? What about your job or your occupation? Is your job permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, right? What about your bank account? Is your bank account permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, right? What about the weather? Is the weather permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. When you walk down the street and you walk on the sidewalk, is it permanent or impermanent? impermanent, right? Here in Thailand, it's very impermanent, right? It goes up and down, different shapes, different colors. Even in your country, it's the same way. There's different shapes, different colors. There's cracks in the sidewalk. The sidewalk is impermanent. So you can look around the world and you can see for yourself that all these things are impermanent. This is a key thing to understand and gain wisdom about when we talk about the Four Noble Truths and helping you to understand what's causing your discontent feelings. So the second universal truth is called discontentedness. If you've studied the teachings of the Buddha in other places, or if you've read certain books, you might have seen the word suffering used here. I don't use this word suffering. Let me explain to you what this is, and then I'll circle back and explain to you why I don't use suffering. I use the word discontent, discontented, and discontentedness. We're translating the teachings of the Buddha from one language, which is the Pali language, into English. So different people might translate it differently. When the Buddha talks about this particular universal truth, is called dukkha. This word dukkha is, when he's describing it, he's saying that there's pleasant feelings, that there's painful feelings, and then there's these feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant. He's explaining to you the unenlightened mind, that you experience what's called conditioned feelings. Pleasant feelings are things like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria. These feelings arise, they change, and they fade away, because they're conditioned feelings. The same thing with the painful feelings: sadness, anger, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear. These are all very painful. Stress, anxiety, they're very painful to experience. They arise, they change, and then they fade away. These are conditioned feelings. Then there's neither painful nor pleasant. Neither painful nor pleasant for me are things like boredom and loneliness, but some people say that's quite painful for them. So you could put that into the painful category if you like. Shyness might be a good example. It's not painful. It's not pleasant. It's neither painful nor pleasant. Or if somebody you didn't know came and sat really close to you in public transportation or something like that, and your body was touching their body, you might say, it's not painful. It's not pleasant. It's neither painful nor pleasant. It's kind of uncomfortable. Your mind's kind of dissatisfied. That's what this third one is. So the Buddha here is explaining to you the unenlightened mind, that there's these conditioned feelings, that these feelings arise, they change, and they fade away. What some people call this is they call it suffering. They say this is the universal truth of suffering. But for me, suffering only explains those painful feelings. The anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety. Those are very painful to experience, and you might say that you're suffering. But if you were shy, you probably wouldn't say you were suffering. Or if that person you don't know came and sat next to you on public transportation and your body was touching their body, you probably wouldn't say you were suffering when their body was touching your body. Or if you're happy, excited, elated, having these conditioned pleasant feelings, you probably wouldn't say you were suffering in that situation. Your mind's discontent. If you've ever been so excited you tripped and fell, or you dropped something, or you couldn't think clearly because you were so excited, this is discontentedness. The mind is discontent, right? These are what's called conditioned feelings. In the unenlightened state, there needs to be certain conditions that are met. If this condition is met, and this condition is met, and this condition is met, and this condition is met, then I will be happy. Right? If it's sunny outside, if I can go hiking today, if I get to talk to my friend, if my mom calls me, if my bank account is this, right? If I get to wear my favorite clothes today, if I get to eat ice cream today, whatever, right? There's these different conditions in the mind that if these conditions are met, then you will be happy. But when those conditions aren't met, then your mind will be sad. It will be frustrated. It will be angry. These are what's called conditioned feelings. In the unenlightened state, you can only be happy when certain conditions are met, right? So this is undesirable because your mind cannot be permanently happy. In the enlightened mental state, the mind is in this unconditioned mental state that you've purified the mind. It's now unconditioned. You don't experience conditioned feelings in the enlightened mental state. Your mind is experiencing unconditioned mental qualities of peace, of joy, and these other mental states that I've mentioned, right? So in the unenlightened state, you might wake up and you see it's sunny outside. It's like, yay, it's sunny outside. I'm so excited. I get to go hiking. Yes, 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 yes. I'm going to go outside with my friends today and I'm going to go hiking. Oh, it's going to be so fun. Yes, I can't wait to go. And now you go take a shower. And then you come out from your shower and it's raining. Oh, man. Now you're frustrated. Now you're angry. Now you're irritable, right? Because your happiness was based on the condition of the sun. And now when that condition changed because of impermanence, now your mind moves to frustration or irritation or annoyance. This is what a conditioned feeling is. It arises, it changes, and it fades away. But in the enlightened mental state, you don't have that. You will wake up already joyful. You will already be happy. You will have unconditioned happiness. With conditional happiness, you can only be happy in this example when it's sunny outside and you get to go outside with your friends. But in the enlightened mental state, your mind was already happy, already joyful before you ever woke up, because there doesn't need to be any condition met in order for the mind to be happy. So an enlightened being is already happy. They look outside, it's sunny. Okay, excellent. It's sunny outside. Let's go invite some friends to go hiking. Let's go have a good time. Let's go outside. Oh, this is going to be outstanding. Let's go have some fun. So now you go take a shower and you come out and it's raining. Oh, okay, it's raining. Well, maybe we'll go to the mall. Maybe I'll stay home and read a book. Maybe we'll go out and have some food somewhere. Let's do something else. Right? You can just choose to do something else, but maintain your joy, but maintain your happiness. But if you have conditional happiness, this is ultimately unsatisfying because it's based on some condition. So therefore, it's going to ultimately fade away. It's going to be gone because it's conditional happiness, and it's based on an impermanent condition. So here, this is the universal truth of discontentedness, where the mind is discontented, or experiencing discontentedness. I don't use the word suffering because it doesn't fully explain what the Buddha is teaching. If we use the word suffering, we're only explaining the painful feelings, which is 33% of what the Buddha taught. That means we're missing 66% of his teachings. And if we're missing 66% of his teachings, then good luck in trying to get to enlightenment, right? You're not going to be able to get to enlightenment if you're missing 66% of his teachings on something that's utterly important to understand. So here I suggest that people use the word discontent, discontented, or discontentedness, because it explains the full spectrum of pleasant feelings, painful feelings, neither painful nor pleasant. And these are conditioned feelings that arise, they change, and they fade away. Then there's this universal truth of non-self. I'll explain this to you. You don't need to know this in order to understand the Four Noble Truths, but just for completeness, I'll explain to you the universal truth of non-self. Some students, they don't understand it when they first learn it the first time. You need to learn it sometimes multiple times before you fully understand it. And then you'll need to practice it as well. By the way, as I did with the universal truth of impermanence, helping you learn, reflect, and practice, here with the universal truth of discontentedness, the way that you independently verify it, because I've already taught it to you to learn, the way you independently verify it is you look at your mind, because you know your mind's unenlightened. Does the Buddha explain to you what you experience? Do you experience conditioned feelings that arise, they change, and they fade away? Are there pleasant feelings, painful feelings, neither painful nor pleasant? If there's a certain feeling that you experience that doesn't fit into one of these three categories, then it isn't a universal truth. So this is how you independently verify that, yes, this is indeed the truth, because you can look at your own mind through your own direct experience and see that this is what you experience as an unenlightened being, these conditional feelings. So now moving on to the universal truth of non-self. This universal truth is explaining to you that there is no self. There is no permanent self. But the problem is that the unenlightened mind thinks that there is one. It has this misperception, this misunderstanding, this false belief. Essentially, what the Buddha discovered is that there's these 10 individual pollutions that are in the mind. They're called the 10 fetters. We refer to them as taints, as pollutions, as defilements. And what an individual in the path to enlightenment is doing is they're working to eliminate these 10 pollutions or these 10 taints or these 10 defilements. And when you eliminate these 10 pollutions, that's when the mind is experiencing the enlightened mental state, because you've purified the mind of these pollutions. The very first pollution on this list of the 10 fetters is called personal existence view. What personal existence view is where the mind is falsely believing that this body or this mind is you. You think that there's a certain self-image or a certain self-identity that is you. So there's a certain self-image that the mind is trying to project in the world. And if you experience agreeable contact related to that self-image, you will experience pleasant feelings. But then, because of impermanence, it's only a matter of time before you experience disagreeable contact about your self-image. And now you will experience painful feelings. So let me give you an example. If you have a certain self-image that your mind is clinging to, like maybe you wear all white clothes, and now when you wear all these white clothes, somebody says to you, wow, you look so handsome in those white clothes. It really brings out the colors of your eyes. Wow, I feel so great. They're complimenting me. Because now this self-image in the mind is clinging to this self-image, and now they're talking about me. So I feel so great because someone's complimenting me and telling me I look handsome. But because of impermanence, it's only a matter of time before somebody says something degrading and disparaging. They might say, you're so stupid for wearing those white clothes. How dare you? You're so stupid. You're going to get them dirty. Why would you ever wear white clothes? You look so silly. You look like a marshmallow man, right? Who knows what someone might say, right? Because you can't control what other people say, right? All you can do is control your own mind. But in this example, if somebody was clinging to this self-image, thinking that this is who you are, when you hear agreeable things, then you will get these pleasant feelings. But then when you hear disagreeable things, you will get frustrated and angry and annoyed because you're clinging to this self-image, wanting to hear things agreeable. Or if you spill something on your clothing, like pizza sauce or chocolate ice cream, and you're in a public setting, you might get embarrassed, right? Because you have a certain self-image that your mind's holding on to. This is called personal existence view. This is the first fetter or the first pollution. Then there's a certain self-identity that the mind clings to, maybe based on your culture, your ethnicity, maybe the country that you live in or that you were born in, maybe your sexual orientation or any number of different things, maybe your job or your occupation. There's a certain identity that the mind's holding on to. Maybe I am American, or I am a Buddhist teacher, or I am this, or I am that, right? There's this I am. Well, now, once again, if somebody says something agreeable, all Americans are so friendly and loving and kind, okay, you're going to get all these pleasant feelings. But then it's only a matter of time before somebody says something degrading and disparaging about your country that you were born in or that you live in. All Americans are right? Or all Buddhist teachers are so lovely and kind and generous. Or all Buddhist teachers are leading people to hell. How dare they share those teachings of the Buddha, right? So it's only a matter of time before you hear these opposite views, these opposite opinions that are either going to be agreeable to you or disagreeable. If your mind is clinging to any identity in the mind, then you're going to experience discontentedness at some point. If you ever had a job and you were in this job and you identified with this job as who you are, and then you lost your job for any reason, maybe you got laid off, or maybe someone retired or something like that, you might have been really conflicted during that time. You might have really struggled because you felt like a part of you was missing, because you started identifying who you are as a person through this job. This became part of your identity. Or if you were ever like a boyfriend or a girlfriend at some point, and you were in this relationship, and then you guys ended the relationship, you might have really struggled during that time wanting to hurry up and get back into another relationship because your mind was identifying with the role of I am a boyfriend, or I am a girlfriend, or I am a husband, or I am a wife. Because now the mind having that self-identity, it's clinging to that, it's holding on to that self-identity, wanting it to be permanent. And now when you guys were together, you felt okay because you're in that role. But then when you ended the relationship for whatever reason, you might have really struggled and wanted to hurry up and get back into another relationship to assume that identity again. So whenever the mind is clinging to this personal existence view, whenever there's this pollution of this personal existence view, it's clinging to this body, this self-image, or this self-identity in the mind, thinking that this is who you are as a person, you're going to then experience discontentedness because the mind is falsely believing that this body or this mind is you and who you are. So the universal truth of non-self is the solution that the Buddha is explaining to you, that there is no self, there is no you there, is what he says. That there is no I, there's no me. But the problem is that the unenlightened mind keeps grasping for an I, for a me, right? The mind thinks that this body or this mind is you and who you are, but it's not who you are as a person. It's just physical structures. That's all it is, and it's constantly changing, right? So if you're clinging to a self-image and maybe your hair starts turning gray, you might get all shaken up, or you see a wrinkle, or you see a pimple, or you start getting a little bit of fat here or there. You might get all shaken up by this, but this body isn't you. It's not who you are. It's just physical structures, right? So there's more for you to learn here, and there's more for you to understand with this universal truth, but this is a little bit of an introduction to you, just to help you understand what's going on in the unenlightened mind. Let me pause here before I move into the Four Noble Truths and see if you guys have any questions on the three universal truths, because as I mentioned, these are building blocks to be able to help you understand this. And as I open up to questions here at the temple and online, let's just do a little bit of reflection on the universal truth of non-self so you can independently verify that it's true. Think about how you viewed yourself when you were a child, when you were a teenager, early adulthood, and now. How you view yourself. Has it been exactly the same your whole life, or has it been constantly changing? What would you say? Your character, your personality, how you view yourself. Has it been exactly the same or changing? It's been changing, right? So there you can see that there is no permanent self. Here's another way to think about it, is if your arm was amputated for any reason, are you less of a person? No, you're not, right? You have less use of a hand and an arm, but you're not less of a person. So intellectually, you understand that this body isn't you. Because if this body is you, when I ask you the question, if your arm is amputated, would you be less of a person? You would say, yes, I'm less of a person because I lost my arm and my hand. But you know intellectually that no, this body isn't you. But the mind still has this false belief, this false perception, this misunderstanding that this body is you. Even though intellectually you might understand that this body isn't you, the mind is clinging to it, thinking that it is you. And then here's a third way, is that you can think, sometimes I ask students, I say, point to yourself. Where are you? Can you point? Where are you? Okay, somebody's pointing here, right? Someone's doing like this, right? So that's what the mind will do, right? We'll tend to point. We'll say, I'm right here. This is me, right? This is David. Okay, well, what did I just point to? What's that? What did I point to? A shirt. That's what I pointed to, is I pointed to a shirt. So take off the shirt. We hold up the shirt. Is that shirt David? Is that shirt David? No, that's not David, right? So, okay, throw away the shirt. Where is David, or where are you? Pretend like you don't have a shirt on. Okay, where are you? All right. Someone might point. Well, what did you just point to? You pointed to skin. There's just skin there. That's all it is. It's just skin. Okay, so let's take off the skin and hold up the skin. Is that you? Is that who you are? The skin? Is that you? The skin? Is that me? The skin? No, that's not me. Okay, throw away the skin. What else do we got? Let's point. Where's David? Someone might point. Okay, now we've got ribs. We've got muscle tissue. We've got organs. We've got fluid. None of that's David. But the mind thinks that it is. That's what the mind's doing, is it's clinging to this body, thinking that this is who you are. And this will just continue to cause difficulties over and over and over again, as long as the mind's doing that. So you can independently reflect on this and see that, yes, there is no you. But your mind might be saying, well, if I'm not the body and I'm not the mind, then what am I? This is your mind still grasping, trying to find a you. The mind wants a you, it wants an I. Where am I? We're not saying that you don't exist. There is an existence here. I can see a physical structure. I can see there's a body, there's a mind, there's a hair, there's clothing. We can see that there is an existence. But the Buddha is saying this isn't you. It's not who you are. So that way, when things start changing, whether it's about the self-image or the self-identity, you can be comfortable and content with that. Or if somebody says something demeaning and degrading, your mind's not shaken up by it. You still might not choose to hang out with that person because they're being degrading and demeaning, but at least your mind isn't shaken up by it, because you can't control what the world says to you. All you can do is control your own mind. So the Buddha is helping you to be able to gain this perspective of understanding that this body nor this mind is you. And now you can reside more peaceful, because as things start changing with the body, or things start changing in your life about where you live or your job or your occupation, your role, whether you're a boyfriend or a girlfriend or what have you, you can be completely comfortable with all this because you just know that it's impermanence. That's all it is. It's just impermanence. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and see what questions you guys have. On the internet, you guys can either put those into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or in Zoom, you can raise your hand electronically and ask any questions that you like. Or here at the temple, you guys are welcome to ask any questions that you like. Okay, it looks like we have a bunch of questions online here. We've got Brenna, if you'd like to go ahead. Okay, it looks like we have a question here on YouTube. It says, hello, I have a question. Do enlightened persons do compliments, not to please someone, but someone they meet, I think is what you're saying? And how do they take a compliment? So yes, an enlightened being might compliment somebody. This is what we might call praise, or we might say an individual might say kind things to another person. So there's no harm in complimenting somebody else and saying positive things to others. This can actually be very encouraging. And then how would an enlightened being take a compliment? it's up to them, right? Everybody's going to do something different. It's not about everybody doing exactly the same thing. An enlightened being might say, thank you for your kindness, or I appreciate your kind words, or that's very thoughtful of you. There's any number of ways that someone might reply to that. But an enlightened being isn't going to get conditioned, pleasant feelings when they hear a compliment. When you hear a compliment, oftentimes what an unenlightened being is going to do is they're going to get conditioned pleasant feelings. They're going to get happy, excited, elated when they hear a compliment. And then because of that, when they hear something degrading or disparaging, they're then going to experience the painful feelings. So an enlightened being, they're going to say whatever they're going to say, either thank you for your kind words, or that's so thoughtful of you, or however else someone might reply to it. But what they're not going to do is they're not going to get conditioned pleasant feelings, because that's just going to open up the mind to the painful feelings later. So this is how you can understand what an enlightened being will experience if they're being complimented, or yes, that they would potentially compliment other people in certain situations. But an enlightened being is also going to understand that in complimenting somebody else, that person, if they're unenlightened, can get conditioned pleasant feelings. So it's not like they're going to lay it on very thick. They might just say, an occasional compliment here and there to an individual, rather than really laying it on really thick, because then this person's mind potentially is going to get those conditioned pleasant feelings and then detract from the ability to have a calm mind and a peaceful mind and a joyful mind. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions here, so I'm going to move on to helping you guys understand the Four Noble Truths. As I do, there's one other building block for you guys to understand. It's this word craving, desire, attachment. This is a word that we use in Buddhist teachings to help you understand what the mind's doing. This is a mental longing and a strong eagerness, the chasing after the objects of your affection. We also might describe this as expectations or wants or holding or grasping or clinging. This is the way that the unenlightened mind thinks that the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. So the mind chases and chases and chases and chases after things. It's a longing, it's a yearning. It's something that's happening inside the mind. Sometimes when people are studying Buddhist teachings, if they've run across this terminology of craving, desire, attachment, they sometimes mistakenly understand that it's the object itself. But it's not the object itself. It's what's going on inside the mind. So if you've ever been in the mall before and you've walked through the mall and you saw a brand new pair of shoes or a brand new phone or a brand new computer or something in the mall, and you're like, oh, I just got to have that. Yes, 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 yes. New pair of shoes. Oh, yes, I need to have those right now. Oh, they're so beautiful. They're so amazing. Or, oh, new phone, new computer. Oh, yes, 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 yes. And the mind's just chasing after that, thinking that this external thing is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. And you felt the mind was longing, yearning. Some people feel like they're being pulled towards this or pushed towards this. This is what a craving, desire, attachment is. Have you guys experienced this before? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah? Okay. So this is what a craving, desire, attachment is. The mind longing and yearning for something. And this is a building block to help you be able to understand the next part that I'm going to share with you, which is the Four Noble Truths. Okay. All right. So the Four Noble Truths are four individual statements that are going to help you to understand the problem in the unenlightened mind, the cause of that problem, the elimination of the problem, and the path forward to completely eliminate the problem 100%. So the first noble truth is explaining the problem. The unenlightened mind will experience discontentedness. All unenlightened beings will experience discontentedness. The discontentedness is those conditioned feelings that arise, they change, and they fade away. These are the conditioned pleasant feelings, painful feelings, neither painful nor pleasant. And when the mind is experiencing that, it's shaken up. And when your mind when your mind is shaken up and uncalm, you can't get to wisdom. You're going to be making unwise decisions that are producing unwholesome results. So as long as your mind is shaken up with discontentedness, then you are going to make unwise decisions that ultimately produce unwholesome results. So these conditioned feelings are the actual problem because they arise, they change, and they fade away. So essentially the mind's going up and down and up and down and up and down. Then the second noble truth is explaining the cause of that problem. The cause here is craving, desire, attachment, where the mind is longing and yearning for things to be permanent. So discontentedness is caused by our own cravings, desires, attachments, because the mind wants everything to be permanent when everything in the world is impermanent. Okay, so the mind is longing and yearning. So I'm going to say that a few times and give you some examples. Discontentedness, those conditioned feelings of pleasant feelings, painful feelings, neither painful nor pleasant, is being caused by the mind's craving, the longing, the yearning, the chasing after the objects of your affection, wanting things to be permanent, but yet everything in the world around you is impermanent. So here's some examples. Back to the boyfriend, girlfriend, which I'm sure that we can all relate to. That if you've been in a relationship together with a brand new person, when you guys first got together, you probably got all these pleasant feelings. Wow, somebody's showing interest in me. They're sending me a text message. They're inviting me out to dinner. We're going to the movies. We're walking in the mall. Maybe we're holding hands. Maybe there's intimate contact at some point. You get all these pleasant feelings based on the condition of having a boyfriend or girlfriend. But now over time, as the relationship goes on, some things happen and you get to the point, and they get to a point where you decide to end the relationship. And now you're sad, or you're frustrated, or you're angry, perhaps. You're lonely. Maybe you're bored, right? This is because the mind was craving for this relationship to be permanent. It wanted boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife to be permanent, but they were always impermanent. But the unenlightened mind doesn't understand the universal truth of impermanence. So when it experiences this impermanence, it doesn't like it. It doesn't understand it. The mind does not like change. That's another way to say that the mind is craving permanence, is to say that the mind does not like impermanence. The unenlightened mind doesn't like change. It doesn't like impermanence. So when the mind's craving and longing and yearning, it's clinging to this relationship, to boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife, wanting it to be permanent. When it's confronted with this impermanence, it doesn't like it, and it starts to experience those painful feelings. So this is one example. Another example is, say you bought a brand new car or some brand new object, and say you got this brand new car, you drive it off the parking lot of the sales dealer, and you feel so great. You worked really hard for this car. You're driving down the street in your red sports car with a convertible top, or whatever color you want to say, right? Or whatever configuration of your car, right? You've got this brand new car that, oh my goodness, this is the best car ever. And you're driving it off the lot. Your friends are seeing you in this car. You feel all these pleasant feelings. You got this brand new car. Now you park it at a store and you go inside and you come out. And when you come out, there's a scratch on your car. Oh my goodness, you get frustrated, you get angry, you get irritated. Why? It's not because of the person who caused the scratch. And it's not even because of the scratch itself. That's not what caused the anger, the frustration. What caused it is that the mind is craving permanence. It's wanting this car to look permanently beautiful. Okay? So we might blame this other person. We might think that this other person is what's causing us to be angry. And that's what the mind believes in the unenlightened state. But if you look at it closely, you can see that the mind is causing itself to be angry and frustrated. We're not talking about what's wise or unwise or what's right or wrong, because it'd be wonderful if nobody ever scratched your car. But you don't live in that world. You live in an impermanent world. And as long as the mind craves permanence, when you come out and see the scratch on your car, you're going to be angry and frustrated. And now with your mind all shaken up and uncalm, you might have all kinds of problems. Say you get in a fight. Say you end up beating up this person. You get arrested, right? There could be any number of different problems that you could experience. But when you understand impermanence, you can remain calm and you can just take steps to resolve this. Whether you look at the CCTV camera to see if there's somebody who maybe scratched your car and you could, contact them, or did they leave a note? Maybe they left a note on the car, or maybe you could just take it to go get it fixed because you have insurance, any number of things that you could do. But if your mind is shaken up and uncalm, you're not going to be able to think through all the different options. And now you're going to make unwise decisions that lead to unwholesome results. There's people that are in jail right now for having murdered people in situations like this, because they just didn't understand the universal truth of impermanence. Their mind was craving permanence. So this is the second universal truth, that your mind is causing its own discontent feelings due to craving, desire, attachment. But remember, I taught you not to believe me. So now start reflecting on it. Take a certain experience that you might have had recently where you were angry or frustrated or irritated or some other discontent feeling. Look at that situation and try to determine, what was your craving, desire, attachment? What was the longing, yearning that your mind wanted? There was something your mind wanted that you didn't get. And because your mind didn't get it, you experienced discontentedness, anger, frustration, irritation, annoyance. It might have been this morning. It might have been yesterday. It might have been last week. And maybe at that time, you were blaming other people. You were looking for someone else to blame, perhaps, right? Because that's what we tend to do with the lack of wisdom. But now that you have more wisdom, look internally. Reflect on that situation. What was it that your mind wanted, but you didn't get it? Something you expected, something you were craving, you were longing for, and you didn't get it. And then when you didn't get it, you got angry or frustrated. Do you see it? Do you see how your mind's causing the discontent feelings? If you don't, you can ask me questions. I've had students that say, I came home from work the other day and my wife had the house a wreck. She was working on this craft project and there was stuff all over the house. I walked in and I got frustrated. How did I cause that myself? How did my mind cause myself to be frustrated? I wasn't even there. I walked in and all of her stuff was everywhere. Well, of course, this person was craving for the house to look a certain way. When they left, it looked a certain way and they were craving that permanence. And then when they walked in and they saw the house in a different state, they got angry, they got frustrated, they got irritated. But just like the house can't remain looking a certain way permanently, now that their wife has this craft project all throughout the house, that's not going to be permanent either. She's going to put it away. And it's going to go back to the way it looks at other times. But if your mind's craving for the house to permanently look one particular way, when you walk in and you see it looks a different way, i.e. impermanence, the mind doesn't like that impermanence. It's craving permanence, right? Do you guys have any questions on the second noble truth? Yes, ma'am. If you could use this microphone so that the people online could hear you, you can just turn it on and then they'll be able to hear you. And you're welcome to take it back to your seat as well. So, down here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah, I can hear you. Is it coming through the speakers? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How would you know, okay, this is my craving to do this versus this feels like a calling or a pull, right? Because oftentimes when people say, what are your goals? Oh, my goals are to buy a house, right? Or is my goal to have a safe home or to create a space for my family?
Okay. I'm not sure the mic's on, but I'm just going to repeat your question so the people online can hear. She asked, how can you determine the difference between a craving, desire, attachment versus something else that the mind maybe is just working towards as a goal, as an objective, or an interest? So this is the two different things that you need to be able to look at. You need to develop what's called mindfulness, which is awareness of your mind. And the meditation is there to help you to be able to develop your mindfulness. This is called breathing mindfulness meditation, where you're cultivating the awareness of mind, you're cultivating concentration, and the ability to easily let go. You're doing this through training the mind and exercising the mind in meditation, so that then in daily life, you have the awareness of mind. And now you pay attention to the mind, and where you see craving, desire, attachment, what you'll notice is that the mind is longing, yearning, that it's being pulled towards something. You have this overwhelming urge, almost like an unquenchable thirst, that the mind is chasing after something, thinking that this thing is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. So now the mind chases and chases and chases and chases. So it's not the object itself, it's how the mind is relating to this object. Because then on the other side, there's what's called a goal, an objective, or an interest, that you might gradually work towards something where you don't have a longing and yearning for it. You're not thinking that this thing is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction, but you're just making wise decisions to gradually work towards something. So let me give you an example that you can see this, that it's not the object itself and it's what the mind's doing. Say that you're in a car and you're on your way to go hiking and you've got a bottle of water in the car with you that you plan to take with you on the hike. And as you park your car and you get out on the trail, you go walking on the trail, you're 30 minutes into your hike and you realize that you don't have your water. If there's a craving, desire, attachment for this water, your mind's going to be shaken up. Oh my goodness, my water, where is it? Oh, I left it in the car. I'm going to be out here for 6 hours. Oh, I got to get back to the car. And you're going to like really take off towards the car, right? You're going to be all shaken up about it. And then you get your water. Ah, yes, water, water, water. Yes, thank goodness I got my water, right? This is because the mind's craving, it's longing, it's yearning. The problem isn't the water. The problem that the mind is experiencing is the craving, desire, attachment. Because you could also be out on the trail and you could realize 30 minutes into your hike, I don't have my water. I forgot it. You know what? I'm going to be out here for a good 6 hours. Let me go get my water. And now you can just calmly make your way back to your car and you can open the door and you can get your water and now you can go on your hike and you can enjoy it. And you can maintain your peacefulness and your joy. Where the first example, which is an unenlightened mind, they're going to be hurrying back to the car. You might trip and fall and sprain your ankle and do all kinds of number of different issues. And then your mind's all shaken up as part of that. And then even when you get your water, your mind's still shaken up when you go on your hike. You can't really thoroughly enjoy the hike if you didn't have that craving, desire, attachment. So what you need to do is look at the mind, not the object itself, but look at the mind. Is there a longing? Is there a yearning? Is the mind pulling towards this thing, wanting this thing, yearning for it, expecting it? And then if you get it, you get these conditioned happy feelings. And if you don't get it, you get the painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So the discontent feelings that you experience on a day-by-day basis, this is like the red light on the dashboard of your car, alerting you that, hey, there's something wrong. You've got craving, desire, attachment in the mind. If you were driving a car and the red light came on, you would pull over the car and you would check it out. And you'd be like, hey, I got to figure out what's wrong with this car. And you might even need to take your car to a mechanic sometimes and get the mechanic to help you figure out what's wrong with the car. Well, the same thing is true with your mind, is that where you see your mind being discontent, if you experience any of those conditioned feelings, this is the opportunity for you to realize, whoa, there's a craving here. Look inward. Because what the unenlightened mind is going to want to do is look outward. It's going to want to blame somebody else. You're making me angry. You are annoying me. Or that is frustrating me. Stop doing that. That is irritating me. The mind thinks it's something external. but you can't control the external world. So as long as one goes around trying to control the external world, you can never solve the real problem, which is inside one's own mind. So when you see that red light, the discontentedness arising, the conditioned pleasant feelings, painful feelings are neither painful nor pleasant, you pull over, you sit down, you look inward, and sometimes you need to take your mind to the mechanic, which is your Buddhist teacher. Then you sit down with your teacher one-on-one and you say, hey, I've got this discontentedness. I walked in the other day, my wife had the house, all kinds of stuff everywhere. I got frustrated. I don't understand why. Can you help me understand this? So this is how you can discern whether it's a craving, desire, attachment, is that you look at the mind, is there longing and yearning? And then you can also look to see if there's discontentedness. If there's discontentedness, there is a craving, desire, attachment. Yeah, please. There's microphones there. There should be a light when you turn it on. It should have a light. Yes.
Okay, I have a question. It's forming in my mind, so I'm not sure it will be clear. I think a lot about the security feeling, and I did notice when I feel insecure by external or internal events or thought. Yes, did you understand? With my French accent, it's sometimes hard. And of security.
I think the battery on that one's running out.
Yes.
We can get that other one, and then in the meantime, we can replace the batteries on that one.
So, yes.
That's impermanence, right? The batteries aren't permanent.
Yes. Even the thought, I forgot what I was saying.
So you were feeling insecure.
How can we touch this security feeling? I think when you were talking about enlightenment, you talked about peace, about happiness, about joy with on a stable level every time. Is security also part of this feeling?
Yeah, so by the time the mind gets to enlightenment, you will feel fully secure. One of the reasons why we tend to feel insecure is because we lack wisdom of what's called the natural law of karma, the cause and effect, or action and result. We try to do certain thing in the world, and you think you have all the best intentions, and you put that thing out, that decision out, and then what you experience back is unwholesome. And you're like, whoa, why did that just happen? And the mind struggles and has difficulties because you think you have all the best intentions in the world, but it might kind of blow up on you, right? And oftentimes the mind can start to feel insecure because you're not quite sure what decisions to make in the world. And as you put these decisions out into the world, you're not quite sure what the result's going to be when it comes back to you. But by the time you awaken to enlightenment, you fully awoken to the wisdom of the natural laws of existence. The main natural law is the natural law of karma. And with that wisdom, you will make wise decisions that then produce wholesome results. And you will have done this many, 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 many times by the time you get to enlightenment, and you will be fully awake to this natural law of karma. That's what you're essentially awakening to, is this cause and effect, or action and result, the results of your decisions. The natural law of karma, it's not punishment and rewards. It's not a mystical, magical thing. It's just literally the results of your decisions. Like, why did the battery of, empty in that microphone? Well, because we've been using it, right? There's a cause and there's an effect. And when we see like, oh, okay, the batteries are out, let's just use another microphone. No big deal, right? We don't have to get angry or frustrated or irritated. It's just impermanence. We can change the batteries, and it's going to run out again because those batteries aren't permanent. But when we lack wisdom of this natural law and we don't see the causes and conditions that lead to some effect, we can experience insecurity in our mind. But with wisdom, you'll have confidence and you'll be able to be secure.
So sometimes when you feel insecure, you act on an impulse to feel security again. For example, a quick answer to insecurity. I'm looking for an example. It will maybe be easier.
Mm-hmm. So what I hear you saying, because I can't hear you 100%, but what I think you're saying is that sometimes when you feel insecure, you make a quick decision to try to feel secure, and then it doesn't quite work. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because it's like instinctive answer, which is not clearly think about. When you say you just pull over, you think about, you breathe and you meditate and you feel secure again. Is that maybe at this moment you have better answer or better, you think better how to solve the things with a proper way to solve it? I don't know if it's clear.
Yeah, so when there's craving, desire, attachment in the mind, which is what unenlightened mind has, it's going to want to hurry up and get to those pleasant feelings. It wants to get its cravings fulfilled. So it wants to hurry up and make a bunch of quick decisions in order to get to those pleasant feelings. And because that's the only way the mind knows how to get to something that it likes, is through craving, desire, attachment. So it will chase its cravings and try to get to those pleasant feelings. So when it's experiencing the painful feelings, like let's put insecurity in that, right? When it's experiencing the painful feelings, it doesn't know how to solve it because it doesn't understand what the problem is. In the unenlightened state, it doesn't realize that that insecurity is coming from your own mind. So the only way that it knows how to resolve it and to get to something that's somewhat comfortable is to crave some more. So it will have these urges and these cravings to now get back to the pleasant feelings. But this cycle just keeps repeating over and over and over again, where you'll crave and you'll want something and you'll chase it and chase it and chase it. And in some cases, you'll get what you want and you'll get pleasant feelings. But in other cases, you won't get what you want and you're going to end up in the painful feelings. And now when you experience those painful feelings, the only thing the mind knows how to do is start craving some more. And now it will crave some more to try to get something else. So if you've ever had like a craving for a new job and you chased and chased and chased and chased and chased and you got that new job and you're like, this is perfect. Everything's wonderful. I got this new job. Life is so great. Well, it was like that for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And then all of a sudden it wore off. The happiness arose, it changed, and it faded away. And you're like, it's not the new job. I need some new clothes. That's what I need. I need some new clothes. Let me chase the new clothes. Now let me go get the new clothes. Now you chase after the new clothes. It's like, this feels great. Maybe for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. But that wears off. What do I need? I need a boyfriend or a girlfriend. That's what I need. Let me chase. Let me go get the boyfriend or girlfriend. Let me go get that. And now you chase that, and then you get that. And you feel good for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And then that wears off. So the mind just keeps chasing. It's like this continuous cycle. So when you understand what the problem is, then you can get to the solution. So the first and second noble truth, the first one is explaining to you the problem, which is the discontentedness. The second noble truth is explaining the cause of that problem, which is the mental longing, the strong eagerness, the craving, desire, attachment. The mind thinking something outside of you is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. So if you understand these two, then I'll move on to the next two. But let me see if there's any more questions here or online. Okay, we have another question coming in here online. It says, regarding attachment or minds clinging onto the body, grasping for identity, do you have any affirmations that you like to practice clarity of not identifying with the body? The answer is yes. There's a meditation in Volume 1, Chapter 11. It's called the Meditation to Realize Non-Self. If you go to that book, which you can download from our website, you can take it and go print it, or you can get printed versions on Amazon or here at the temple. You'll see that meditation there. But this meditation should be used once you've developed breathing mindfulness meditation and loving kindness meditation really well. You wouldn't be able to just go in and actually start eliminating personal existence view without having developed a lot of the foundational teachings first. So if you've developed the foundational teachings and you would like to go in and actually work on eliminating personal existence view, then you could use that meditation to do it. And I've taught it in classes that you can reference the online videos where those are recorded, and you can even schedule personal guidance sessions with me, and I can help you to learn how to do this meditation. But I would just be sure that you have the foundational teachings established first before you go in and start using that meditation. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions, so let me move on to these last two. These are really easy to understand, which the third noble truth is the elimination of discontentedness is possible by eliminating craving, desire, attachment. So since the problem is craving, desire, attachment, that's the cause of the problem, which is described in the second noble truth. The third noble truth is explaining the way to eliminate discontentedness is to eliminate craving, desire, attachment. You need to eliminate the craving, desire, attachment from the mind. Eliminating craving, desire, attachment from the mind is accomplished through breathing mindfulness meditation and practicing generosity. So in the breathing mindfulness meditation that we were doing this morning, where your mind moves off the breath and you cut that off and let it go and bring the mind back to the breath, this is training the mind to easily let go. Your goal isn't to eliminate your thoughts. The goal is to be able to train the mind to easily let go. Because with craving, desire, attachment, expectations, wants, clinging, the mind is holding on to things, wanting this thing to be permanent. And you're training your mind to easily let go. So if you're able to observe the anger is starting to arise, or the frustration is starting to arise, or the insecurity is starting to arise, you can cut that off and let it go if you've been training your mind that way in meditation. So you can train your mind to the point where you cut this off and cut it off and cut it off, and eventually you get to the point where it no longer arises. It doesn't arise any longer because you've eliminated the causes and conditions that are causing it to arise, which is the craving, desire, attachments. If you cut this back and cut it back and cut it back through training the mind in meditation and in daily life, you'll be able to get to the point where there is no more anger that arises. There is no more insecurity that arises because you've eliminated the cravings, desires, attachments that are causing it. So there's deeper training here that you would need, which is described in the fourth noble truth. The fourth noble truth is explaining that the path to eliminating discontentedness is the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is the complete perfect plan. This is 8 individual steps that the Buddha is teaching in order to help you train your mind to get to the enlightened mental state. In these 8 steps, the very first step is called right view. What right view is the Four Noble Truths. Having the right view is to understand that your mind is causing its own discontent feelings, that it's craving, desire, attachment that is causing this. Wrong view would be to blame other people and think that other people or some external thing is causing your discontent feelings. If you had wrong view, you will tend to push people away. You will tend to be bitter and harsh and aggressive with people, or you will tend to put your expectations on people and trying to control them to do things your way because the mind's trying to get to those pleasant feelings. But when you have right view, then you understand that your mind is causing its own discontent feelings, and now you can really actually work on the true problem. As long as you don't understand the problem and you think the problem is outside of yourself, you're going to continue to have these problems over and over and over again, where the mind will be angry and frustrated and sad and stressed and having anxiety and all these other discontent feelings. But when you understand the true problem is craving, desire, attachment in your own mind, and you start applying the tools and techniques to be able to fix it, that's where you'll actually see the real solutions. So establishing right view is so important. So the way to establish right view is to understand the Four Noble Truths, but to always take responsibility for your own feelings, your own emotions. Even though that might not be something that you're used to or that you've been doing in the past, you're going to need to get to the point where when you're angry, when you're frustrated, when you're irritated, rather than blaming somebody else and looking for something external to blame, is that you look internal and you try to figure out what's causing it. There's cravings, desires, attachments. You don't need to blame yourself. It's not about being at fault. It's not about who's wrong and who's right or who's at fault. It's about looking at the causes and conditions that are leading to this discontentedness to arise. And if you're experiencing discontentedness, there's some craving, desire, attachment. There's a longing, there's a yearning that's in the mind that's causing this discontentedness to arise. And just like you need to develop the ability to meditate and train your mind through that and build that wisdom, you need to build the wisdom of how to identify your cravings. That in any one given situation where your mind's angry or frustrated or irritated or some other discontent feeling, you need to be able to identify what is it that the mind's longing for? What is it that the mind wants? What is it that the mind's craving and yearning and longing for? Because when you can identify the cravings, then you can more skillfully work to eliminate them. But if you don't understand what the cravings, desires, attachments are, you won't be able to eliminate them. So today, perhaps in today's class, you can start to understand that your mind's causing these feelings itself. And now instead of looking externally and blaming others, you can look internally. And even though right now you might intellectually understand this, your mind in the heat of the moment will probably revert to blaming other people. You might even become bitter and harsh and hostile with others. You can't learn something like this in a class and instantly change your mind. You can't do that. That's why it's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. And that's why there's a whole path for you to learn. And what the Buddha exposes you to in this path is the natural law of karma, of cause and effect, so that you can understand what are the causes and conditions that are leading to the struggles and difficulties in your life. And when you learn what those things are, then you can use the wisdom to now make different decisions that lead to improved results. But as long as you lack wisdom of this natural law, you'll make unwise decisions that will produce unwholesome results. So as you gain more and more wisdom on right view, then you would look to move into these other factors of the path to be able to learn the full path to enlightenment. And there's various courses and retreats and programs that I teach to help you guys learn this. In fact, next week, if you guys are around, I'm teaching a course Monday through Friday called The Foundations and the Path to Enlightenment, where you can learn the foundational teachings. And if you're able to come for the whole week, great, outstanding. But if you even like to just come for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, you're welcome to do that so that you can learn. And then there's online programs that I teach as well, because I know some of you guys travel. You might decide to join online or through our live stream or other retreats and various things that we offer. So do you guys have any questions at all related to the Four Noble Truths or establishing right view? Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question that as long as we have this, as the human body has this 5 aggregates, then it is going to have discontent feeling. Then how is an enlightened being not having any discontent feeling? Because there are still this 5 aggregates, and there is this form, and if a body is in pain, then how an enlightened being is not having any discontent feelings?
Okay, so let me give a little bit of background so they understand what the 5 aggregates are. The 5 aggregates are how the Buddha describes a living being. He says that a living being has form, feeling, perception, volitional formations, which is choices and decisions, and a consciousness. And he says that this is how you know what a living being is that they have physical form, they have feelings, they have perceptions, which a perception is how you view the world, your views and opinions. Volitional formations are choices and decisions, and then a consciousness is the mind. So you can see that this is a living being because this chair, it has a physical form, but it doesn't have feelings, perceptions, volitional formations, and a consciousness. So the problem isn't the 5 aggregates. That's not what the problem is. The problem is the clinging to the 5 aggregates. So an enlightened being is going to have the 5 aggregates in terms of the physical form, feelings, perceptions, volitional formations, and the consciousness, because they're a living being, but they're not going to be clinging to it. So when you cling to the physical form, wanting it to be permanent, then you will experience discontentedness. But if you're not clinging to the physical form, you understand that this body isn't you, then you're not going to experience discontentedness. If you cling to the feelings, if you cling to anything that's in your mind, or if you cling to the perceptions, like your views and opinions about the world, or if you cling to your decisions, your choices and decisions, or the consciousness itself, now you'll experience discontentedness. So it's not the 5 aggregates that's the problem. That's just describing that you're in existence and you have these 5 aggregates, but it's when you cling to it, wanting them to be permanent, that's going to cause the discontentedness. Now that's the mental discontentedness, right? But then there's physical pain, which is what you're asking about too. The physical pain is different from the mental pain. We're not talking about physical pain when we talk about discontentedness. Physical pain is because the physical structures of the body are having some problem. And this is there to alert the mind that, hey, there's a problem, you need to take action. So whether you're an enlightened being or whether you're unenlightened, if you stand too close to a fire, you're going to feel the heat of the fire, right? In the unenlightened state, you might feel that heat of the fire. You might have a fear of death. You might have a lack of understanding of the universal truth of impermanence, and you might jump away from the fire and get all angry and frustrated, and you might be cussing or yelling. You might sprain your ankle or any number of different things, right? This is in the unenlightened state because of the mind craving and clinging to this aggregate of the form. And now when you feel that physical pain, not only do you have physical pain in the unenlightened state, but now you've got mental anguish to go along with it, which actually intensifies the pain. In the enlightened mental state, you'll still feel the fire, but you won't have the mental anguish. You'll feel the fire and it's like, oh, okay, it's too hot, let me move away. And you'll just make a choice to move away and maintain your calmness and composure. That's the difference. Right? Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. If you could use the mic, that would be wonderful. And there's some more batteries there if you guys need to change the batteries on those mics.
Wanted to summarize for my understanding, not that I'm attached to my understanding, but it sounds like what you're saying is it's the story of the craving. In the example you gave earlier about it's not about the water bottle or the object, it was like the story, like if I have no water, I might dehydrate, and it's like, and then the anxiety rises and the craving gets stronger. But then you had said, but in a wiser mind, right? Or with mindfulness, you would say, I'm just going to turn around and get my water. You're not attached to the story of needing to have that water in the moment. Am I grasping that?
I use that story in order to kind of illustrate what the unenlightened mind does. Yeah. But the underlying problem is the craving, desire, attachment. It's the longing and the yearning. There can be in that situation, it could be a fear of death. It could be a fear of dehydration. It could be the mind's craving to go on this hike, and now I can't go on the hike without my water, and now I'm angry or frustrated because the mind doesn't have the water. Or maybe you're walking with friends and you don't want to leave your friends to go get your water. There could be any number of different things that the mind's craving, desiring, attached to. So it's not, the story is just there to illustrate the point and kind of help you see what the unenlightened mind does. But the underlying thing that's causing this discontentedness to arise, it's the craving, desire, attachment. It's the longing, the yearning. So it's how the mind's relating to the world around you. The mind's craving for this water to be permanent. And when it's not permanently with you, then the mind struggles and has those difficulties. So the craving is the mind pulling towards something, the wanting something to be permanent, not realizing the universal truth of impermanence.
Okay, I believe I grasp that now. Because I think the number one craving I feel for myself and even people I socialize with is answers. Like it seems natural to always crave an answer, solution, finalization, completion. And And so I asked because I was thinking, where is it, where do you draw the line? But I suppose that's a mindfulness exercise as well.
Yeah, so what you do is you learn how to pursue things as a goal, objective, or interest, which the unenlightened mind doesn't understand because it hasn't been trained to do that. The only thing that the unenlightened mind typically knows how to do is pursue things out of craving, desire, attachment. Is I want to go to Thailand. So I want it, I desire it, I'm longing for it, I'm yearning for it, I'm going to work really hard and make all this money, and then I'm going to book my tickets, and I'm going to book my hotels, and I'm going to go on this trip because I really want it. And then when you show up to the airport and your flight's delayed or it's canceled, then you'll be angry and frustrated because the mind's craving it, it's longing, it's yearning for it. Because the mind didn't realize that it's not possible for every single airplane that's scheduled to go. It's just not possible because of impermanence. But when the mind has craving, desire, attachment, it will sit there at the airport and be angry and frustrated for a 2-hour delay or a 1-hour delay because it's craving permanence. You said we're leaving at 3 o'clock. We need to leave at 3 o'clock or else I'm going to be angry or frustrated. This is the mind craving permanence. But when you understand impermanence and you show up to the airport and you see that the flight's delayed, well, of course it's delayed, right? Because it can't be on time all the time. It's going to occasionally be delayed. But as long as there's that craving in there, the problem isn't going to Thailand. The problem isn't the trip to Thailand. The problem is that the mind's craving it. It's longing for it. It's yearning for it. Do you see that?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say I do. I certainly see that. I think I was comparing them with what I do. I often, everyone that I work with craves, to say the least. And so I always try to focus on manifestation and to see where does the mind guide us to focus on manifestation versus the craving of something, of whatever that is.
Okay. So from what I understand about people who are into manifestation, is this trying to will something into the world? Yeah. So it's important to be able to see the natural law of karma, that everything that happens in your life is based on a cause, and then there's an effect. You can't just sit and manifest something to occur. In order for something to occur in the world, you have to make certain decisions, and then those decisions are going to lead to some result or some outcome. So it's important to be able to see that anything that you choose to experience in life, it's going to need to come from a decision that you produce. You can't just will something into the world to actually occur or something to happen. This will help you to then be able to cultivate the wisdom that if you say what, I would like to go to Thailand. Let me make decisions that lead to me going to Thailand. I can't just manifest that. I need to actually do something. I need to go to work. I need to show up on time. Maybe I need to get a part-time job and make a little bit extra money. Whatever it is, there's certain decisions that I need to make in order to produce this trip to Thailand. And that's how you'll then be able to experience improved results more and more in your life when you understand that there's causes and conditions that lead to each individual thing that I experience in life. Mm-hmm. And then learning how to do that without craving, desire, attachment. And as you said, living in a world where probably the most people around you are having craving, desire, attachment, the mind tends to conform to that. Because in the Western world, we don't have these teachings. And I don't know where you live or what environment you live in. Even here in Thailand, there's of course people that have craving, desire, attachment because not everybody's enlightened. By the time you get to enlightened, you've eliminated all your cravings, desires, attachments. But anybody who's not enlightened, they still have cravings, desires, attachments. So if you're around people that have a lot of craving, desire, attachment, this is why it really is this breakthrough, like the Buddha was describing, that if you can have this breakthrough to understand what's causing your discontent feelings, then you can actually eliminate them. But if you just keep conforming to what's going on around you, there's people going around craving. And if you just conform to that and you do that as well, you'll continue to be just as stressed and just as much anxiety as everybody else around you, because your mind's choosing to do the same things that everyone else is doing. So what you're doing on this path is you're choosing to do things differently. You're not choosing to follow anybody. You're not choosing to conform to anything that anybody's doing. You're learning wisdom that you can then learn, reflect on, to independently verify and practice, and see the truth more and more as you learn this wisdom that the condition of your mind's improving. But that means rising above what the vast majority of the world's doing, because the vast majority of the world is unenlightened. Any other questions that you guys have? Yes, ma'am. While you're getting the mic, Laura has some questions here on YouTube too. She says, but an unenlightened being would also stay away from the fire, wouldn't he or she? Well, it all depends, right? Like, say you're at a bonfire, if you know what a bonfire is, like a party with a big fire. Maybe you've got your back turned to the fire. Maybe you're having a conversation, and maybe you just gradually back towards the fire without realizing it, right? This is an easy thing to do. Or maybe you're standing close to a stove and somebody turns on the stove and you didn't even realize that the stove was turned on. So these kind of things can happen whether you're unenlightened or enlightened. I'm just using this as an example to help you understand that you can be in situations where you're standing there and all of a sudden you feel a bunch of heat. And when you feel that, if you allow the mind to experience the mental anguish, this is going to arise more pain in the mind. There's physical pain and there's mental anguish. An unenlightened being is going to experience the physical pain and the mental anguish, which heightens the physical pain. But in the enlightened mind, you're only going to experience the physical pain. You're not going to experience the mental anguish. So therefore, the physical pain is actually a lot more muted in the enlightened mental state. It's very minimal compared to what you experience in the unenlightened state. In the unenlightened state, that physical pain gets really heightened because of the mental anguish that comes in with it. But in the enlightened mind, you can experience physical pain, but it's just very muted because there's no mental anguish to go along with it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Those enlightened people still have desire?
There's no desire the way that I'm explaining it here. The way that we tend to understand certain words in the English language and even other languages as well, we oftentimes use words that don't really fully represent the way that it's actually being perceived in the mind. For example, the word love, right? We might say, I love chocolate. Well, you can't actually love chocolate, because love is having a genuine interest in seeing another being be well, having goodwill towards others. So you can't love chocolate because it's not a living being. What you're really saying is, I have a craving for chocolate. I have a desire. I have a mental longing and strong eagerness for chocolate. And when I get chocolate, I get pleasant feelings. That's the craving, desire, attachment. That's the want. But we tend to say things like, I love chocolate, right? So the word desire, an enlightened being doesn't have a mental longing and a strong eagerness for things. That's the craving, desire, attachment. But an enlightened being also isn't indifferent in just sitting around doing nothing all day. They have goals, they have objectives, they have interests, but they understand that it's gradual decisions, gradually working towards a goal that's going to produce some kind of result. Where in the unenlightened state, we will chase and chase and chase and chase and chase and chase and chase, thinking that that's how we're going to produce beneficial results in our life. But what the mind's doing is it's chasing those pleasant feelings. That craving, desire, attachment is in there trying to hurry up and get to the pleasant feelings. So you go all day long because you're trying to get to those pleasant feelings. And in some cases you get what you want and you'll say, oh, I had such a great day today because everything went your way. But then you'll get to the end of some days and you'll be like, oh, today was a horrible day. It was so hectic. I'm so exhausted. That's because you've been chasing all day. And in some cases you got what you want, in some cases you didn't get what you wanted. In the enlightened mind, you can maintain your energy all day long. You can do things all day long because you're not working, you're not chasing anything. You just gradually work towards a certain goal or an objective. So this is why the Buddha taught for 45 years, from the age of 35 to 80. And he just gradually worked towards his goals. And now here we are 2,500 years later, still talking about the Buddha and his work, because he was very successful in those 45 years, just gradually sharing his teachings into the world as a goal, as an objective or interest. Whereas if he was chasing after it, he would have got exhausted. And then he would have burned out, burnout, right? We call burnout, right? This is because you're chasing after things and you burn out. But also, if you did nothing and you didn't pursue certain goals or objectives, you're not going to feel peaceful and joyful there either. So the mind needs to learn how to pursue things as a goal or objective or interest and gradually work towards it, realizing that on some days you're going to accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish, and on other days you're not going to accomplish those things, and you just wait until the next day or the next day or the next day or the next day. But in the unenlightened state, if you don't accomplish what you set out to accomplish, you'll get angry, you'll get frustrated, you'll maybe even degrade yourself or diminish yourself. But an enlightened being's mind won't do that. They'll just gradually work towards the goal, objective, or interest. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions here online or here at the temple. What I'll do to end class is just invite you guys to join for future classes if you like. As I mentioned, there's classes here on Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday. There's also courses and retreats that you're welcome to attend. I would like to also thank you guys for choosing to learn and practice the teachings of the Buddha. So if you guys would like to continue to learn more, you can look at the website, which is buddhadailywisdom.com. You can talk with me privately. I can help you get situated with moving forward on the path to enlightenment. And I'll just wish you guys all well. Have a very wonderful and lovely rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee krap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.